Welcome to the new module of process safety management. Now this process safety management is a very important aspect of chemical process safety because in different modules we have studied about the various aspects of chemical process safety, identification, and, training, toxicological studies. So this particular aspect refers to the integration of all kind of various activities being associated with chemical process safety. So in this particular module we are going to study with the basic principle of process safety management, and Occupational Safety Health Administration of United States, they are a very lead agency in the development of process safety management. So we will discuss about that, what did OSHA development in process safety management. Then we will discuss about the key elements of process safety management, and later on we will summarize all the aspects which we will discuss in this particular module. So let us have a first question to be asked by anybody, that what is the process safety management? So in nutshell, the process safety management is the application of various management practices, principles, etc. and system to the identification, understanding and control of various process hazard to protect the environment, to protect the employee, to protect the facility assets, etc. So usually it integrates the different technology available for the process. It integrates the operating procedures or protocols, and sometimes it may refer as a standard operating practices. And then it integrates the standard management protocols. So there is a difference between the operating protocols. It usually reflects with the measurable parameters like pressure, volume and temperature, and there are certain standard management protocols. So we will discuss this thing in due course of time. So it originally it was developed by American Institute of Chemical Engineers, that is an apex body of all chemical engineers, and they are having one center for process safety refineries, and it was in association with the two institutes. One is the American Petroleum Institute, API. This is responsible for producing or responsible for making all kind of guidelines for various refineries, and the Chemical Manufacturers Association, those who are the responsible care for all kind of chemical activities. So they developed a management system for various hazardous processes. Now you cannot overlook the importance of those hazards as reflects in this particular photograph. Maybe the fire hazard, maybe the toxicological hazard, maybe the explosion hazards, etc. So the question arises that because in the first slide we had a discussion about that the OSHA, Occupational Safety Health Administration, they are responsible for the development of process safety management. So question arises that why did OSHA develop the PSM? Now OSHA developed this process safety management in the following context, like the various past disasters. So they took the cognizance of all those disasters, those who have taken place in the history. Then they are also taking the cognizance of the current disaster, and they are responsible for the perceived weaknesses in the PSM program. Now, while we are considering the past disaster, so we are having different disasters which are enlisted in this particular slide, like Bhopal. It took place in 1984, and that was attributed to almost 20,000 deaths, and just because of a methyl isocyanate release. Then the Pasadena in Texas, 1989, attributed to 23 deaths and 132 injuries. That was a petroleum explosion. Then Cincinnati, Ohio in 1990, there were 2 deaths and just because of an explosion. Then Sterlington in Lafayette in 1991, 8 deaths and 128 injuries just because of a chemical release. So based on this particular aspect, in 1991, OSHA and Environmental Protection Agency respectively, they released the standard for PSM and risk management protocol or program that applies to those companies that are usually affected by those standards. So, process safety management is a regulation by OSHA and intended to prevent an incident like in 1984 Bhopal. And one more objective is this particular process safety management is to prevent the release of any kind of toxic material, any kind of reactive material, any kind of a flammable material or explosive chemicals. So, it is having a very wide spectrum of all these things. Now, let us have a look of this PSM versus RMP. Now, let us discuss about that what is the difference between these two aspects. Now, PSM, that is process safety management, is like hazard communication or HAZCOM, whereas RMP, that is the like Superfund amendments and reauthorization etc. So, the PSM protects the workforce, they protects the contractors, those who are involved in that workplace. They protect the visitors to that particular facilities, those who are the maybe casual visitor or maybe the regular visitors, because sometimes these visitors, they used to pay visit to the facilities, maybe educational tour, maybe some sort of other sampling etc. So, basically in a nutshell, they protects the workplace, whereas RMP, they protects the community, maybe within the plant periphery or outside. They protect the general public around that particular facilities. So, like in Bhopal, the general public outside the facility was severely affected. They protect the adjacent facilities such as school, hospitals, etc. Now, the process safety management, it consists of 14 integrated elements. Now, because this PSM is an elemental approach, so let us have a discussion about those elements. One is the application of this PSM, employees participation, the process safety information, process hazard analysis, operating procedures, there are employee training and something related with the contractors, then the pre-startup of safety review, the mechanical integrity, hot work, that is non-routine work authorization etc., then management of change, any kind of technological development etc., incident investigation, emergency planning and response, and there are certain compliance audits. So, let us have a discussion about those elements of process safety management standard. So, let us explore some of those elements. Now, first that let us discuss about the various OSHA guidelines under the head of those elements. So, OSHA developed various guidelines and various protocols. One is this 1910.119A, that what facilities are covered. So, under this act, a listing of toxic and reactive highly hazardous chemicals which present at a potential for catastrophic event at or above the threshold quantities are listed. So, you need to identify and then you need to list those elements. Now, second aspect is to adequately address this particular section, identify what brings you into the coverage by the standards, maybe material safety data sheets etc., and specifying which processes are at the facility are covered and why. So, it covers the basic approach of that facility. Then a process which involves a flammable liquid like or gas on site in one location in quantity of say 1000 pound or 4535 kilogram or more. So, they specified this particular limit. Now, OSHA defines on-site in one location for the process safety management of highly hazardous chemicals standard. They interpret on-site in one location to mean that the standard applies when a threshold quantity of highly hazardous chemical those sometimes referred as HHSC. They exist within an area under the control of an employer or a group of affiliated employers. So sometimes some conglomerates they usually participate in the different industrial activities. So they cover all this particular aspect also in this particular guideline. So it also applies to any group of vessels that are interconnected or in separate vessels that are close enough in proximity that the highly hazardous chemicals could be involved in potential catastrophic release. Now consider what you can do to get out of those situations. So one thing is that to reduce the inventory of any kind of highly hazardous chemical, run a cost oblique benefit analysis. That means you need to optimize this thing. Then you receive a smaller shipments. You may break up storage location within the plant to reduce the amount on hand to below the threshold quantity, that is sometimes referred as TQ. You may have improvised or enhanced inventory control, and you may substitute the listed with non-listed ones so that you can have other better alternative for those who are dangerous. Now let us have a discussion about that what types of industries involved in this particular aspect. So industries that process chemicals such as food processing with the anhydrous ammonia over the threshold quantity, that is, then industrial organics and inorganics, paints, pharmaceuticals, adhesive, sealants and fibers, petrochemicals, facilities, paper mills. Now see, the chemical engineering is a very versatile field. So you may have a large spectrum of industries associated with the chemical engineering, and not only our day-to-day affair but also in the broad spectrum. Like 25th May 2004, an accident took place because of the pool chemical process in plant attributed to chlorine, and a mass evacuation was needed to protect the neighbors. And interestingly enough, that this was not a PSM covered facility. Now the pool chemicals were not commercial or reagent grade, so the process was exempted. So you would be very specific about these listing of PSM. Another guideline is 1910.119C. So this reflects the employee participation. So the employees are required to be an active part of the process, and your written programs need to be documented, that what roles of employees play, what are their involvement in the development of the programs, and the continuing participation in that particular process. So usually an inspector will attempt to verify the participation of those employee by interviewing them at random, so that they can check that whether the industry is following the norms or not. Now a consultation or participation with the training and supervision to determine the frequency and contents of initial and refresher training. Sometimes a consultation or participation to develop and review the operating and maintenance protocols. Sometimes a consultation or a participation in incident investigation regarding the covered processes, etc. The next aspect is covered under the subsection D, that is the process safety information. Now the intent is to provide the complete and accurate information concerning the process which is essential for an effective process safety management program and for conducting process hazard analysis. There are some dead trees and acronyms for information related to process safety, like material safety data sheet. In the industrial hygiene module, we have already discussed this one. The piping and instrumentation diagram, referred as P&I diagrams, block flow diagrams, these are the very good source of information. The material and energy balance calculation, this might be need to perform by any engineer, those who are involved in the process industry. The relevant consensus standards and the materials of construction. Now, next is that sometimes you may need to carry out the process hazard analysis, that what is the impact of that particular process with respect to the hazard or risk. Now, the intent is to require the employer to develop a thorough, orderly, systematic approach for identifying, evaluating and controlling processes involving highly hazardous chemicals. There are certain minimum requirements for this particular analysis, that the setting a priority order and conducting analysis according to the required schedule, using an appropriate methodology to determine and evaluate the process hazard. And these methodologies and the protocols, they are very standard in nature and based on the theoretical aspect of chemical engineering. The performing the process hazard analysis by a team with expertise in the engineering and the process operation, and the process being evaluated and the process hazard analysis methodology is used. Now, these minimum requirements include about this PHA, that is the addressing process hazard, previously incident with the catastrophic potential, engineering and administrative control, consequences of a failure of control, human factor, and a qualitative evaluation of a possible safety and health effect of failure of controls on employees. Now, establishing system to address finding and recommendation and assure solution of recommendation and documentation, develop a written schedule and communicate action to employees, because the employees, those are the first stakeholder of that particular protocol. So, those employees who work in the process or might be affected by the action. This is the next aspect of PHA. Other are the like updating and revalidating these process hazard analysis at least every 5 years, but it is not necessary. It may be reduced, it may be on the higher side depending upon the process conditions. Now, retaining process health analysis and updates for the life of the process. So, OSHA has suggested a format for this analysis. One thing must be remembered, that don't start process until all information are gathered. Use a software tool to guide, record or manage process, and these softwares are easily available in market. The next subsection is the operating procedures. Now, the intent is to provide the clear instruction for conducting activities, those involved in the covered processes that are consistent with the process safety information. So, the operating procedures that must be addressed step for each operating phase, operating limit, safety and health consideration, and sometimes the system and their function information also plays a very vital role. The next subsection under this head deals with the employee training. Now, usually it helps employees and contractor employees understand that the nature and cause of the problem that might arise from the process operating conditions, and increases the employee awareness with respect to the hazard particular to a process. And also, it is an effective training program, significantly reduces the number and severity of incident arising from the process operation, and can be instrumental in preventing small problem from leading to a catastrophic release. So, sometimes you may refer as the near misses, they do not convert into the major accident. Minimum requirement includes like initial training, sometimes a refresher course, sometimes a continuing education, and sometimes the documentation. So, these are the minimum requirement for this employee training program. The next thing is attributed to the contractors. Now, the intent is to require employers who use contractor to perform work in and around processes. Sometimes those contractors may involve with highly hazardous chemicals to establish a screening process, so that to handle such type of scenario usually they hire and use contractors who accomplish the desired job task without compromising the safety and health standards or safety and health of employee at the facility. And the role of contractor is sometimes, because sometimes they are the casual workers, and sometimes they are very specialized persons, and if you are having a very limited opportunity for those operation, then you may hire them for a very short period of time, because sometimes it may not be feasible to hire those contractors on a regular basis. So, if they are handling such hazardous jobs, then certainly the protocol must also be enlisted. So, the contractor must assure that the contract employees are trained on the performing the job safety of the hazard related to that particular job and applicable provisions for the emergency action plan. So, because every action is supported by the emergency action plan, so the contractor, they should ensure that their employees, they are well trained for that particular assigned job. The next subset is the pre-startup safety review. Now, the objective is to make sure for new facilities and for modified facilities, when the modification necessitates a change to process safety information, certain important considerations are addressed before any kind of hazardous chemicals they are introduced into the process. So, this type of aspect must be ensured by the employer. There are certain minimum requirements for this pre-startup safety reviews. These are the construction and equipment is in accordance with the design specification. The safety operations, maintenance and emergency procedures are in place and adequate. For new facilities, the process hazard analysis has been performed and a recommendation resolved for or implemented. The modified facilities meet the requirement. So, these are the certain minimum requirements for this one. Now, next is the mechanical integrity. This is just for the sake of an example. If you are dealing with the pressure vessel, then definitely you must know that what is the strength, whether they do meet the design pressure or not, etc. So, the mechanical integrity of any process is very important. So, the objective is to assure that equipment used to process, store or handle highly hazardous chemical is well designed, constructed, installed and maintained to minimize the risk of releases of any kind of chemicals. Now, this requires that a mechanical integrity program be in place to assure the continued integrity of process equipment. Sometimes they may require a certification from the competent authority that these vessels or these equipments, they are under the mechanical integrity supervision, and they are well tested for the process which is going to that particular process going to use that particular vessel or equipment. So, the different elements of mechanical integrity program, this includes the identification and categorization of equipment and instrumentation, the development of written maintenance procedure, and sometimes this written maintenance procedure may be clubbed with the standard operating protocol, the training of process maintenance activities, the inspection and testing of different kind of equipments, those involved in the process, the correction of various deficiencies in equipment that are outside the acceptable limits defined by the process safety information, and the development of a quality assurance program. So, these aspects, they are the integral aspect of this mechanical integrity program. Now, apart from this, the employer shall develop and maintain a master list of all equipment specifically covered by those standards and the equipment that is important for the safety of the process. So, it must be properly categorized, like pressure vessel and storage vessels, the piping system including valves and other piping components, sometimes control that might be including monitoring devices and a sensor, alarm and interlocks, etc., relief and vent system and devices, emergency shutdown protocols, etc. So these are the enlisted. Apart from this, other pumps, rotating equipments, sometimes heat exchanging equipments, electrical generation or a power distribution equipments, uninterruptible power supplies, emergency power supply equipments, there are certain fire protection equipment. So these are the part and parcel of the mechanical integrity. Now next is the hot work or the specified work. The objective is to require the employer to control and in consistent manner non-routinal work conducted in a process area. It is just like that you need to carry out the welding, then you need to get the proper permit to do so within sometimes it may be a flammable zone or sometimes it may be a very controlled zone. Now specifically this is the concern with the permitting of such kind of work operation associated like welding, cutting and in the process area. There are certain minimum requirements. Those include that the employer issue a hot work permit for hot work operation conducted on or near a covered or controlled process zone. The hot work permit shall document compliance with the fire prevention and protection requirement, and sometimes there is one standard requirement given by the OSHA, that is this one. Now they have the trained fire watchers, that is aligned with the fire extinguisher or a fire response training, so that in case of any eventuality they may approach to the problematic zone for the remedy. The next is the management of a change. The intent of this particular thing is to require management of all modification to equipment, procedure, raw material, processing conditions other than the replacement in kind by identifying and reviewing them prior to implementation of these changes, because the ultimately management who usually takes all kind of decision for any kind of alteration. So there are again certain requirement for this management of change, that is establishing the written protocol to manage change, sometimes addressing the technical basis, impact on safety and health modification to operating procedures, necessary time period and authorization if sometimes required, informing and training employee those who are affected, sometimes updating process safety information and operating procedures or practices. So these are the integral part of management of change. Now this particular section deals with the incident investigation. Now this is the incident investigation because sometimes it may happen that some untoward incident may take place. Then how to handle or how to investigate. Now sometimes you begin with the stipulated time, let us say 48 hours, then investigate the incident and a near misses. That information may be available through the master log or other reviews, or sometimes the records being available at the plant site. Then it is required that retain all those reports for 5 years, the follow of the system for recommendations. Sometimes those reports suggested certain recommendations. So during investigation you may analyze that was there any follow up for those recommendations or not. Then they must submit the report with the conclusion and a proper recommendation. Now all these things, they do happen when you are having a team with a process knowledge. So the formation of the team is quite essential. So once you form the team, then you start with the stipulated time, then investigate the accident and near misses, then review the reports and past recommendations, and then you submit the reports. So this is the integral part. As far as this particular guideline is concerned, the employer is required to investigate each incident which resulted in or could reasonably have resulted in the catastrophic release of highly hazardous chemical at the workplace. So it shall be initiated not later than 48 hours following the incidents. And while we had a discussion about the formation of investigation team, so these investigation team must include a person knowledgeable in the process involved. They may include the contractor, if any, for the work of the contractor where the contractor work is involved. The other person with appropriate knowledge of the process in question. And report must be produced with the following things like date of incident, date of investigation began, description of any incident, then the factors that contributed to the incident, and the recommendation from the investigation to avoid any kind of reoccurrence of that particular incident in future. The employer is required to establish a system which promptly address the incident, report finding, and a recommendation, documentation of all kind of resolutions and in situ corrective actions or a follow-up corrective actions. Now these incident reports shall be reviewed with all affected persons whose job tasks are relevant to the investigation and retained for almost 5 years. The next is the emergency planning and responses. Now the objective is to require the employer to address what action employees are to take when there is any unwanted release of any highly hazardous chemicals or incident. The employer must establish and implement an emergency action plan and include the procedure for any kind of handling small releases. They develop an early warning method for the release. They must train the employees for the meaning of alarms, develop the emergency evacuation written plans, evacuation map, and the assembly points must be well defined, etc. The next subsection that is the compliance audit. The objective is to require the employers to self-evaluate the effectiveness of their process safety management program by identifying the deficiencies and assuring corrective actions. So there are again like other points, there are certain minimum requirements are like audit at least every 3 years, maintenance of audit report for at least the last 2 audits, audit conducted by at least one person knowledgeable in the process, the documentation of an appropriate responses to each finding, and that is the deficiencies found that, must have been corrected. So there is much more to with the PSM. So now this the OSHA PSM National Emphasis Program for refineries and chemical facilities and the severe violator enforcement program, etc. So these are the things which are attributed to the violation and this OSHA program. Now let us have a look of the summary of this process safety management. Now this process safety management is a comprehensive difficult standards. Although it was promulgated in 1991, the catastrophes continues to occur. The recognition of these fact that OSHA has developed a national emphasis program for refineries and chemical manufacturers, so that they are very much aware about the catastrophes associated with these chemical plants. So the more emphasis they are planned for all kind of all PSM sites. So in this particular module we have discussed about the different elements of process safety management. What is the process safety management, how we can apply these, what is the employer's responsibility, what are the management, etc. Now again, if you wish to have a further reading of these process safety management aspects, you can have a look of these references enlisted in this particular slide. Thank you very much.